Hey, so today I thought I'd share an update on my Termidata project and share some details on the weapon arm and the design choices that went into it and how I built it. So I decided that I don't want a mechanical weapon or anything that's going to fire a projectile. So that would include like a BB gun, like Robo-Rab put on his Terminator robot. And it would also include things like a Nerf gun that James in the UK put on his Terminator mod for his recent video that he put out for his humanoid style robot. And it would also include things like this, the rubber band shooter from Easy Robot. I wouldn't want to do something like that either because I'd have to reload the rubber band, and it would be dealing with knocking down the targets that I want to teach the robot to recognize. I don't want to deal with resetting up targets or deal with reloading ammunition, that kind of thing. So that's why I'm not going to use anything mechanical or something that fires projectiles. So what I want to do with my Terminator is teach the robot to see different objects. You'll recognize these pictures from Terminator 2, different images of Sarah Connor, and then we've got the T-1000. So these would be examples of what I might teach the robot to recognize, and then the Terminator would have to deal with them, and deal with them in some sort of appropriate manner, like recognize them as either a threat or not a threat. And then the robot is going to have to make some choices and target things appropriately, and make some judgments. And that's what I want to experiment with. So I would, print out pictures like this, set them up where the robot would have to, maneuver around, and then make choices. So let's say we program the Terminator to protect Sarah Connor. So in the first image, she's, smoking a cigarette and minding her own business. So that one's probably easy enough. The Terminator would ignore her. But in the second image here, we have Sarah where she's pointing a gun. Now that one might be more confusing for the Terminator to deal with if we have taught the Terminator that a gun could be seen as a threat. So how would the Terminator deal with that one? And then we have the image of the T-1000, where if we taught the Terminator to recognize that as a threat, what would the Terminator do if we showed the Terminator, an image of other police officers that look similar to the T-1000? Would our Terminator attempt to target them? So these kind of scenarios, they might sound kind of funny, with my little Terminator here. What would it do in these kind of scenarios? But these little scenarios are similar to what happens in the real world with, these are problems that we are facing now with robots and with data and with machine learning and the type of data sets that we feed into our systems. So these are real issues that are happening now. But for my experiments, it'll be smaller scale. So what I want to do is try to focus on some ethical robot controls to try to offset some of these issues. Now, that's where my experimentation is going to go to. And of course, I'll be using Easy Builder software from Cynthium to be creating all my robot controls. So the weapon I finally chose to go with, it's a little toy space gun that I picked up from a dollar store. It has a little trigger on it that makes a sound effect and has a little LED in it that lights up and sounds like a little space gun. When I took it apart, there's 4 main screws on the back of it, not counting the screw that held in the battery cover case. As I took it apart, I first thought about interfacing the electronics board to the EZB4 and having it electronically control the sound effects board. But as I thought about it a little bit more, the orange LED that came with it, it wasn't very bright. I decided I didn't really like that. And then the sound effects, they weren't that great. I decided what I would do is replace this with a brighter blue LED and then get rid of the soundboard and the speaker, because I didn't need that because I've got the EZB. It can produce sound. And then I would play a sound clip from the futuristic plasma gun rifle sound effects from the Terminator movies. So that's what I decided to do there. And then what I did is I wanted to mount an EZB camera on it as well, so that way whatever the Terminator targeted, there would be a camera on there to be able to have a better kind of a scope kind of mechanism for the sighting of whatever he's going to be shooting at. And then here's a better shot of what it would look like with the camera mounted on it, with the plastic cutaways, so that would fit better. I gave everything a coat of matte nickel spray paint from I used Rust-Oleum brand. And then here it is, the weapon arm almost completely finished. The only thing that isn't finished here is the laser scope, the laser diode, which I glued into this little notch here on the gun on the side, so that way it'll have a laser spot. And then the camera is the camera and the weapon, or rather the servo arm, is glued on to only half of the gun, so that way I can take the gun apart if I need to access the LED on the inside, or if I want to put more electronics in there. It worked out really well, gluing only half of the frame of the gun. That way the case can assemble and come apart more easily. And then I didn't paint the end of the gun, the cap, the white part here. I didn't paint it. That way when the LED lights up, it shines brighter. If I had painted it silver or black or anything like that, it would not have been as bright. And then in the end, the actual little gun part here, I kind of went with a paint scheme, and in appearance wise, I've tried to make it look a little bit like the 45 long slide from the first Terminator movie, when the Terminator goes into the gun shop and he gets that his 45 long slide. So I'm kind of it's kind of themed like that, along with the futuristic plasma rifle from the future scenes, where the Terminators have the, where it's shooting the blue plasma. So it's kind of a hybrid between the two. And then with the camera on here, not only is it going to be helpful for sighting targets, but if you saw my other video where I talked about how the neck camera doesn't have a very good field of view because it can only rotate right and left, this camera is going to give the robot a better sense of the world, because the arm is going to be able to move around in a wider range of view. So if the robot needs to look down at the ground or look up higher, this camera is going to give it a better view. So I'm pretty happy with the way it's shaping up so far. In my next video, I should be able to share the Terminator actually doing some functional things, and we'll be able to start experimenting. So, thanks for watching. See you next time.